Okay, so welcome everyone to our group meditation and our kind of Zen practice group. We're going to start today with kind of a short meditation to settle in, to ground ourselves. And then after that, we will look at some Zen teachings and kind of explore them and unpack them together as we are able to. So, starting off, as with any meditation, we first need to kind of take into account our body. So, the body is very important to the state of our mind. The body is very important in whatever situation we have going on right now. The body is kind of quite essential. Whether you're going to work or you're in a relationship with someone or um, you want to have a happy experience or an unhappy experience, the body is deeply, deeply relevant. And so when we take up the practice of meditation or even of exploring spiritual ideas, these kinds of things, we first have to take into account the body. So we can begin doing that by finding a comfortable position for your body. So you can perhaps adjust your position or totally find a new position. And it's not so important that you become sitting in a cross-legged or a yoga position, but what is really essential is that you find a comfortable and stable position so that you can kind of put the body down. You can sit the body down. And so you're not so much involved in this activity of holding the body up or the body being involved in activity. So when we want to practice meditation, we have to start by taking up this activity of the body to put down, to put the body down at this moment. And so finding that position, we can very simply bring our attention onto the breath. So what does that mean to bring our attention onto the breath? What is that exactly? Well, the breath is something that is happening, right? The breath is a part of our experience right now. If we do not breathe, if we stop breathing, then we are no longer alive. So the breath is most certainly happening at this moment. It's a very fundamental aspect of our reality right now. And so as we find that comfortable, stable position for the body, we bring our attention, our awareness, our focus onto the breath, this process of breathing that is currently happening at this moment. If it's not happening, you're dead. So a part of it is that we're finding the breath. What does the breath mean to us? And we may find kind of right off the bat that we don't really have a willingness to be involved with the breath, or we have a lack of ability to focus on the breath. So that's it. You're not going to be able to meditate. But if you find that there is this ability that you have to direct your mind, to focus your mind in some sense, then the work here, the practice here right now, is to begin focusing, begin looking at this process of breathing that is currently happening to you, or certainly the body is breathing. And as we look around, as we investigate, as we focus on this breath, we can close our eyes, it can be helpful. And we start to notice and explore this experience of breathing that is happening. We begin to notice this experience of breathing that is literally unfolding right now, happening right now. Now, I could tell you, and many meditation teachers kind of instruct and tell in this certain way, well, I can give you a hint, well, focus on your nose, focus on your stomach, focus on one of these physical aspects of the breath. But I find that it's nice to kind of take up this exploration, this curiosity of, well, what is this experience of breathing really like for me? What do I notice about it? What do I feel about it? What's it like? Now, there's basically three kinds of experiences that we're going to come across, that we're going to have in our life, and meditation is a part of our life. Meditation is kind of looking into our life at this moment. One kind of experience that we may have is the mind is very scattered. It's very unpleasant. It's very complicated. There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of jumping around. It's very difficult to concentrate. It's very difficult to do anything, let alone meditate. So sometimes we find that the mind is like that. We experience that the mind is like that. It's a part of meditation. But also the breath is there. The breath is happening. The breath is this very alive, relevant experience. So even though we are in the midst of this unbelievable storm, this very inconvenient situation where the mind is just all over the place, even though we are in that situation, there is still this consistency and this relevance of the breath. And so, even though we are experiencing this kind of unpleasant, difficult kind of experience, we can still explore and be aware of the breath. We can still prioritize, in some sense, that the breath is happening, that we are aware of it, and it's a point for curiosity. It's a point for exploration. It's a point for being aware. So continuing to explore, notice, experience the breath. Wow, it's actually happening. The breath is actually happening, and it's fundamental to our reality. It's fundamental to our life right now, and yet the breath is not composed of words or phrases. The breath does not particularly have a preference for good or bad experiences. The breath is happening, and we are aware of it. And so even though we have this painful experience or this scattered mind experience, the breath is happening. And if we want to practice meditation, even in the midst of a difficulty, even in the midst of a scattered mind, complicated mind, we come back to the breath and we continue practicing in that way. Now, there is also a state of experience that is more neutral, more boring. And if we want to practice meditation and we find that we are in a very neutral state, it's very easy to be arrogant in that position. Oh, I'm interested in meditation, but this is neutral. The mind isn't particularly scattered, and also the mind is not particularly peaceful. And so this kind of arrogance comes up about, well, this is a load of nonsense. I tried it out, I gave it a check, and it's neutral. It's boring. I'm finished with this. I'm done. Even if we're having this kind of neutral, boring experience, the breath is still happening. There is this aliveness, there is this vividness, there is this relevance of the breath that is ongoing and does not subscribe to your idea of boredom. And we can be so arrogant that we think to ourselves, "Oh, I'm bored of breathing." Well, stop, give it up. Give up breathing. And very quickly you'll find that there is this aliveness, there is this vividness, this relevance of breathing in our life. And the breath is happening. The breath is coming in and going out. And so even though we feel bored, we come back to this breathing and being aware, this aliveness, this presentness. And we truly prioritize this awareness of breathing and this being with the breath rather than our arrogant idea of boredom. Oh, I'm finished with this, I'm bored. And also quite common is to have a neutral experience. That is quite common, as I just said. And also, what is quite common is to have a peaceful experience. Oh, wow. We feeling peaceful, we feeling relaxed, the mind is calm. It's at these points when we can get kind of falling into sleepiness, or we can get an idea of, oh, I am really practicing, I'm really doing it. So even when we're feeling a pleasurable experience, a very pleasant state of mind, the mind is calm, the mind is relaxed, we're still in the position to detach and to let go from what we're experiencing. So we understand very clearly that, oh, I'm having a painful experience. I'm not just led by the nose, but I detach from that. I go back to my breath. I go back to my meditation. And we can also understand that it's a bit silly to be in this position of boredom when we have the intention to meditate and say, oh, I'm bored. I'm finished with meditating. I'm giving it up. I'm done. It's kind of not the point. That's not what we're doing. We can understand that. But far too often, and this is the problem that most of us have in our lives, is that we are in a state of addiction to and craving for and chasing after these pleasant experiences, these pleasurable experiences. And the same goes in meditation. So even though we are having a relaxed, pleasant experience, we still pick up this curiosity, this looking into, this exploration of the breath is happening right now. And whether you can do it or you can't do it, whether there are thoughts and distractions or there are not thoughts and distractions, whether you are in the pits of hell or high up in the clouds of heaven, the breath is happening. So closing our eyes for a moment, even if we're in difficulty, even if we're in a deep state of bliss and our eyes are wide open and we're seeing the enlightened world of nirvana, either way, hell or heaven, closing our eyes for a moment and kind of turning our awareness, turning our attention inward and noticing this experience of the breath happening. And you may find that your breath stops. So notice that. Kind of look very closely. Well, I'm not breathing. This monk, this guy had it all wrong. When I look inward, I stop breathing. Well, what's that like? Look into that. This process of breathing, this process of a very relevant, present experience of being alive right now, focused on the body. And there's not one particular place where the breath is happening. In fact, the breath is happening throughout the entire body because the moment that your blood no longer has oxygen, it's a major, major emergency. So the breath is going on throughout the body, and our practice here is to close our eyes for a moment, turn our attention and our awareness inward, and begin to notice what that's like to be breathing right now. Even if the breath stops, take that breath stopping as this kind of point of looking into, curious, you know. And as we start to look inward, as we turn our awareness inward, noticing the breath, there may be some tension in the body. There may be certain things that stand out to us in the body. So notice them as well. Be aware of them as well. But continuing to take as your anchor, your foundation, this exploring, noticing the breath is happening, this experience of breathing. And even if you don't, maybe you're not so big on the idea of meditation, but there is this relevance, very human relevance of the breath. There's something very curious about this process, this practice of breathing that is so vital to everything that we like, everything that we dislike. The breath, whether we like it or not, it's not up for debate. If you want to debate about it, you'll have to go into a room and debate with yourself. You can't debate with me about this. The breath is a touchstone, a cornerstone, is the iron concrete rods going down into the bedrock of our reality and our life and our mind and our psychology and our emotions and our lived experience. The breath is the foundation of our life. And so even if there's not a big idea about meditation, there is this understanding, this natural human understanding that this breath isn't something to be taken lightly. and that it is worthy of our attention. And in the same way that if you want to build a very large building, a very large skyscraper, you want to invest in it a lot, wow, the foundation is really important. And so here in looking into the breath, not necessarily Buddhism, not necessarily meditation, but in looking into and getting involved with being aware of, taking a look at the breath happening right now, we are investing in the bedrock, the foundation of our lives. We are taking care, doing our due diligence of this experience. And then we may also notice pain, maybe some pain, some part of the body. And when we practice like this, we can experiment with the breath. Maybe we're at a point of giving up. We're at a point where, well, look, I tried and this isn't working. Well, experiment with how you're breathing. Maybe to try and breathing a bit deeply. You try to breathe deeply. And if you are doing it wrong, that means that you're doing it right. If you know that you're doing it wrong, it means that you're doing it right, because this is a practice of sincerity. This is a practice of getting involved. This is a practice of bringing yourself to here and now and to being with it. So any semblance of sincerity, any semblance of effort, any small portion, even a portion that is small enough, not even large enough for a mouse, of effort, of sincerity, of willingness to look into, to explore, to be present, to be attending to, is contains within it the whole of the enlightened mind, the whole of the path. So you think you're doing it right, you think you're doing it wrong, continuing to look into, to notice the breath that's happening right now. We may also in our meditation have strong thoughts come up, strong feelings come up. And that's wonderful. That's okay. It's not a problem. We notice it, we're aware of it, returning back to the breath, returning back to being aware at this moment. So staying with this mind of being very close to the breath, staying with this mind of sincerity, openness, exploration, allow us at this moment to take a look and to explore some Zen Buddhist teachings. And I really invite that everyone here, if you are, especially if you are here in the Discord, um, please do consider the space open for you to share and for you to ask questions and to kind of participate as we unpack these Zen Buddhist teachings. And of course, while I am the one on the stage, I am not the master, the guru. I am just facilitating our coming together, our meditation, our exploration of these Zen Buddhist teachings. Okay? I stand to be corrected. It's a very good kind of phrase. I stand to be corrected. I am sitting up here to be corrected and informed of my misunderstandings. And in some sense, that's why we are all here. Because we didn't want to just accept McDonald's and Mountain Dew, but we really want to explore, what's this all about, and maybe I'm doing this wrong, or maybe I can get a better idea of this situation and can be more skillful in how I'm living my life and how I am living in the world. Okay, and hi there, Kyle, who I just saw hopped into the Discord. And if you are, just right before we begin, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching wherever you're watching, the Discord is the place to be. We can say that's kind of our online residential space, and definitely for joining these meetings and keeping in touch with the community, it's really ideal if you can join the Discord. All right. So let's begin. And we'll just kind of go through these and listen deeply, and hopefully we'll have something to share. We'll be inspired in some way by these teachings. It's also okay if we just listen to them as a poetry, as these kind of lovely meanderings of the mind, lovely wanderings of the mind. It doesn't need to be, well, how do I figure this? How do I really get it? But exploring and appreciating as a kind of poetry. Poetic wisdom, maybe. So this is entitled Awakening. Once you realize universal emptiness, all objects are spontaneously penetrated. Integrating the world and beyond, it contains all states of being within. If you lose the essence, there is nothing after all. If you attain the function, there is spiritual effect. The genuine path of unminding is not a religion for the immature. And please, everyone, really do keep in mind that to listen to this as a poetry, I'm not a scholar. People here aren't scholars. This is translated from, ancient Chinese language. So really listening to it in a poetic way, you can get the benefit from it. All right? So let me read this again. And we have this book linked in the Discord. Thank you, Robert. Awakening. Once you realize universal emptiness, all objects are spontaneously penetrated. Integrating the world and beyond, it contains all states of being within. If you lose the essence, there is nothing after all. If you attain the function, there is a spiritual effect. The genuine path of unminding is not a religion for the immature. Well, I really love that. That's rich. So please share. Please feel free to jump in. But offering my own interpretation of some of this, once you realize things as they are, just at this moment, reality just as it is, right here, right now, all difficulties are spontaneously overcome, transmutated into awareness, peace, wisdom. Integrating the world and beyond, it contains all states of being within. So not only bringing together this world and our situation, but also beyond, far beyond what we can even imagine as with a human intelligence. This just hearing, just breathing, just being aware contains all states of being within, totally inclusive. If you lose the essence, there is nothing after all. If you fall off the path, you will find it is just this way. Wow, that's a moment-to-moment peace is possible, good or bad. If you attain the function, if you attain the method, if you start to practice, if you get involved with your suffering, there is an effect, For sure, there is an effect, and it could be a big effect. You could really change your life. You could really end suffering. People always saying that Buddhism is like a nihilistic, right? There is suffering. But one line later, 2 lines later, the Buddha says there is an ending to suffering. You couldn't be less nihilistic. How rare, how uncommon is it for us to hear that this can end, that we can experience total peace and happiness, not in the next life, but now, through seeing our nature. The genuine path of unminding is not a religion for the immature. That is, the genuine path of letting go. The genuine path of being like water, my friend, is not a religion, is not a way of thinking, is not an approach for those who are unwilling to put down their selfish, immature narratives of me, my, I. And we understand from a Buddhist perspective that as we develop ourselves ethically, morally, very quickly, we develop a deep practice of loving kindness towards ourselves, for example. Well, what happens? We start to have a loving kindness. We start to have an appreciation for those people around us. It's very, very natural. The farther that you go in this maturation of, for this discussion's sake, compassion, peace, loving kindness, oh wow, it spreads out and out. The more your compassion matures, the less it is self-oriented. And so this genuine path of unminding, of letting go, of not relying on the fixed subject-object, story-based way of living is not for immature people. It's not for people who want to debate and fight and figure things out with their, monkey mind. And that term is very often used in meditation. We have like this monkey mind. Well, I hate to break it to you, but we're not giraffes. We don't have giraffe minds. We have monkey minds. And so This genuine path of letting go, being simple, being kind, being generous, appreciating just this is not a religion for the immature. It takes a lot of depth. It takes a lot of sincerity. It takes a lot of heart. And that is by the mysterious Fen Yang. And very wonderful to hear that teaching. Anyone have something to share? We have any callers? Anyone want to call in and share something? Abby, what did you think about that? Did you have something, some insight about that, Abby? I always appreciate your Zen mind.
Reb Anderson Roshi uses that, probably one of my most used ones, and it is he refers to this as to meditation as a seamless practice, i.e., without seam. There's not the herd and me here hearing it, and the seam in between. There's just the herd, and yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Thank you, Abby.
You're welcome.
So
Thanks
you said
for
you
going.
said no seams. Is that what you said? No seams.
SEAM, seam, yes.
Yeah, no seams. Okay. Body and mind. Do you want to know what my body is? My body is the same as the whole earth. Do you want to know what my mind is? My mind is the same as space itself. Do you want to know what my vision is? I see there is nothing to see. Do you want to know what I hear? I hear the unheard. Since I have been seeing and hearing, why then do I speak of the unheard? Quote, if you listen with your ears, after all you cannot understand. When you hear through your eyes, only then will you know. So that's a very good teaching, I think. If you listen with your ears, after all you cannot understand. When you hear through your eyes, only then will you know. So, just seeing, just hearing, experiencing only. This body, this material form, not being separate from the whole earth. This mind not being separate from all space, all openness, all inclusiveness. Do you want to know what my vision is? Nothing to hold on to. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is fixed. So seeing clearly, we see impermanence in all compounded phenomena. That is, we see impermanence everywhere we look. What can we see that is permanent? What can we see that is fixed? It's certainly not the body. It's certainly not any objects that are around us. So what is the vision of, we can say, a old worthy, or someone who has a strong understanding of the path? Do you want to know what my vision is? I see that there is nothing to see, nothing to hold on to, nothing to be tripped up by. You make a mistake, come back to breathing and being aware. Come back to walking the path. Come back to there is nothing after all. And this, if you listen with your ears, after all, you cannot understand. If you listen with attachment, if you try to understand the teachings with the intellectual mind, you couldn't understand. But when you hear through your eyes, when you experience only, then you will know. Okay, Miss Maddie says to see things as they are, simple mind. And from my perspective, and from many Buddhist teachers' perspective, the heart of the spiritual path, the heart of spiritual development, is not necessarily chakras and kundalini awakening, but is very literally this practice of moving from a complicated mind to a simple mind, to a mind of simplicity, to a mind of wholesomeness, to a mind of peace. So it's a very drastic change in perspective of how do I have success? How do I develop my mind? How do I develop my life? Well, you get rid of things and you get things. But from the Buddhist perspective, developing on the spiritual path, moving from this complicated story mind to a simple mind. Just breathing, just being aware at this moment. But let's not waste time here. Let's move right on to the Primordial Buddha. The sun rises in the east. The moon sets in the west. When one rises, one sets. From ancient times until now, people like you all know this and see this. The primordial cosmic Buddha, now to add some extra definition here, what is the Buddha? The Buddha is the fully enlightened one, the totally enlightened one. So the primordial cosmic Buddha is infinitely boundless, independent in all circumstances. In 1,000 different daily affairs, why do you not see it? Why do you not see peace in your life? Why do you not see your Buddha nature? Why do you not see this primordial cosmic Buddha that is effervescent, overflowing throughout the 10 directions, your body, mind, all compounded phenomena, all experiences? Why do you not see it? Does anyone have an answer? How about Liz? Why do you not see it, Liz? The primordial cosmic Buddha is infinitely boundless, independent in all circumstances, in 1,000 different daily affairs. Why do you not see it? Are you here, Liz? Can you answer it?
Yes, I would say because I'm not when I'm not in the present moment mind.
Ah, Yeah, I think I would have to agree. But we don't have to agree or disagree because Huanglun Huinan is going to answer for us. It is because you still have calculation in your mind, and your views are limited to effect and cause. You are not yet able to transcend religious sentiments and get beyond the shadows and traces. If you instantly understand that conditional occurrence is uncreated, you will shine with illumination like the sun and moon, envelop and support like the sky and earth. That certainly sounds nice. The primordial cosmic Buddha is infinitely boundless, independent in all circumstances. In 1,000 different daily affairs, that Buddha nature, that cosmic Buddha, that entity of total enlightenment, that experience of total enlightenment, nirvana, transcendence, is totally right here before you. In all of your different daily affairs, it is independently appearing, constantly, effervescently. Think about, I don't know if anyone here knows about one of those tablets that you put in like a drink, where it makes bubbles. Does anyone here know about that? You have seen one of those before? It's like a tablet, and you put it in a water, and it starts to many bubbles. Maybe Alka-Seltzer. Okay. So the primordial Buddha is not just Alka-Seltzer, not just it is not appearing in the same, when you put the Alka-Seltzer in the water, so many bubbles, right? The primordial Buddha isn't like that. It's more like you are putting an Alka-Seltzer tablet in a LaCroix. We all know, well, LaCroix, already pre-carbonated water. It's carbonation on top of carbonation. It's effervescence on top of effervescence. It is bubbling over, overfilling, overfull with your Buddha nature, with your peace nature, with these direct access points for awakening, for peace. Wow, bubbling up everywhere. I think the Bible said, my cup overfilleth. Something like that. There's a special verse in the Bible about the cup is overfulling. So in Buddhism, we have something similar, only our cup is overfilling with Alka-Seltzer tablets and LaCroix, or the other kind of carbonated waters. That's right. Bubbling up. So many access points for wisdom. So why do you not see it, Bhante? Why do you not see it? Why are you avoiding? Why are you deluded by? Why are your eyes covered up by ignorance and craving and attachment? Why don't you see it, Bhante? It is because you still have calculation in your mind at this moment, and your views are limited to effect and cause. You are not yet able to transcend religious sentiments and get beyond shadows and traces. If you instantly understand that conditional occurrence is uncreated, or that cause and effect are happening without a self entity that could suffer or die or be born, if you instantly understand that conditional occurrence is uncreated, has no self-nature, no self-backing, you will shine with illumination like the sun and moon, envelop and support like the sky and the earth. Subjective feelings. When subjective feelings arrange your effort and activity is obsessed with objects, the matter of yourself is neglected. So when we are constantly in a way of living where we are self-oriented, how do I get what I want? How do I avoid what I don't want? How do I taste this? How do I enjoy this? How do I avoid this? When these subjective, self-oriented feelings arrange your effort, and when activity is obsessed with objects, so this sounds a lot like modern capitalism, this sounds a lot like what a lot of people are in a position they need to live like this a lot of the times, at least it seems that way. When you live in this way, the matter of yourself is neglected. The matter of your nature is neglected. That which is most essential, that which is what you value more than anything else, which is your mind and body, yourself, is neglected. What happens when we neglect things? We often don't maybe see this so much in a Western culture or in a more modern civilization, but when you leave something and you don't take care of it, when you neglect it, it starts to mold, it starts to rot, it starts to become dilapidated, it falls apart, and there's all kinds of issues that go along with that. So when only subjective feelings arrange your effort, and activity is obsessed with objects, the matter of what is most valuable to you is neglected. That is, the matter of yourself is neglected. Not believing in true universal knowledge in oneself, you will never attain true awakening. So that is, not believing that there is a much greater treasure and a much greater truth within yourself. Not believing in true universal knowledge in oneself, you will never attain true awakening. Matter and emptiness. Seeing matter itself as emptiness produces great wisdom. So one does not dwell in birth and death. Seeing emptiness as equivalent to matter produces great compassion. So one does not dwell in nirvana. So we can say that seeing matter, seeing the physical forms that we experience right now, like this body, as impermanent, as fundamentally impermanent, that is, fundamentally empty of a separate self, of a permanent existence. So seeing a chair itself as not a chair, as empty of chair nature, produces a great wisdom, so one does not dwell in birth and death. If we can see clearly, if we can look closely at our experience right now, we can definitely find that what we are experiencing right on the tips of our tongue is empty of a permanent fixed self, at least as far as we can experience it. So seeing matter itself as emptiness produces a kind of great wisdom or an insight or a clear seeing, so that one does not dwell in these ideas of birth and death. It does not dwell in these ideas of getting and getting rid of. Seeing emptiness as equivalent to matter, so seeing our idea of peace or our experience of peace as not separate from the peace of other people, produces a great compassion. So we understand that the matter that we experience, the physical things, are impermanent, so we don't hold on to them so strongly. We're not so silly-minded that we believe that what we are experiencing is permanent. And seeing our peace or seeing our wisdom, seeing emptiness as equivalent to matter, seeing it as, in some sense, also impermanent, it produces a great compassion, so one does not dwell in nirvana. One does not become stuck in this peace and this well-being, but continuing to grow, continuing to help others, to work, to put forth the effort to reduce suffering, to relieve suffering in ourselves and in the world. So we will wrap up our reading with a very apt and appropriate text called Meaningless Talk. So this will be the final portion of our reading and our exploration together of the Buddhist teachings, these Zen Buddhist encouragements. The title of it is Meaningless Talk, and after this reading, we have a kind of special surprise for everyone in attendance, and so you'll certainly want to stick around for that. All right? Meaningless Talk. Bottomless in depth, boundlessly vast. Foaming waves flood the sky. How can you determine the current of the water? If you can discern the current of the water, then you will know the source. If you don't yet know the source, for now I am speaking meaningless talk to you. But how do you understand this meaningless talk? Is it that I tend to criticize people? Is this meaningless talk? Is it that speaking about worldly judgments and comparisons is meaningless talk? This is not the point. As I see you, You are a sorry bunch. You leap up idly, and 9 times out of 10 crudely, merely having remembered a useless saying or an outworn speech. When you are confronted with a challenge, though, you cannot clear it up. Nowadays, there's a kind of elder who likes to instruct people by means of sayings, like giving out verbal orders in a small village. That is called slandering universal insight. It is truly hard to repent. Why don't you search your own guts? When you are lying sick and helpless on your deathbed, none of the sayings you learned all your life will be of any use at all. So that's characteristically Zen, a bit of a bitter medicine. And it's nice to take bitter medicine among friends. And it's also nice to take a bitter medicine in a place when we have a relationship with ourselves, so that we're not totally overwhelmed by sweetness, and we're also not made sick by bitterness, because the sweet and the bitter, they go together, and they certainly are a big part of our lives. So let's take a moment to adjust our posture, so we find a bit of a comfortable, stable position. And then for the last portion of our meeting together, we will take a meditation in silence, beginning and ending with the sound of the bell. And before we hear the sound of the bell, it'll be a part of our meditation. The last part, we'll kind of say a prayer of a metta. We'll say a prayer of loving kindness. So take a moment to find that comfortable position for your body, comfortable and stable. Doesn't need to be a special position, just comfortable, get comfortable, stable position. Close your eyes and begin to offer some curiosity and some attention to the breath. Take responsibility for the breath as it's happening right now. Really be with it. Really give your attention and your sincerity to the breath that's happening right now. You can breathe deeply to help you calm and gather your mind. But eventually, don't even consider controlling the breath or not controlling the breath. Just allow it to find a natural rhythm and be very close to the breath. Close and aware. Bringing our hands together and repeating after me. May my breath be a source of peace in my life. May my breath be a source of peace in my life. May this very breath be a source of peace. May this very breath be a source of true peace. May those who I deeply love experience peace in their life. May those who I deeply love experience peace in their life. May those people that I barely know experience peace in their lives. May those people that I hardly know experience peace in their lives. May those who I do not like experience peace in their life. May those who I do not like experience great peace in their life. May this very breath be a source of peace for all beings. May all beings experience great peace. May it be so. May it be so. May it really be so. Sadhu. Sadhu. Okay, my dear fellow practitioners on the path, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for how much you inspire me with your practice and being a part of this community and supporting one another. You know, it's so inspiring and supportive to me and my practice. So I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful for everyone who participated. Um, if you are ever in need of a support or a help, please do know that I am available, and it's just a matter of contacting me, and I'll do what I can. And as they used to say in the olden days, that's all, folks. So I hope to see you again soon. Please take a good care of your life and take a good care of your practice.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bante.